just found this insane prompting structure that helped me take my images from looking like this to this. I'm going to walk you through the exact structure and the elements that you need in your prompts for using ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, Claude, and any AI tool to unlock insane results. So let's jump right in. First, I'm going to talk about the general structure you need in a prompt. One thing to note that's huge is that there's no one universal prompt for image generation, for app development, for text generation, etc. So just be sure that when you're creating prompts, you include these elements. So I'll first start off with number one, which is context and background. This should be about 2 or 3 sentences where you'll talk about how to really set the stage for the AI. So something like, this is a cinematic scene where you're a super high level videographer. That kind of just leaked into number two, which is the role, but you kind of get the point, which in the image that I generated here, I was using, I told it was a cinematic videographer, which is role, but also the context and background is that this is a night city. It needs to have a very intense artistic feel, just some sort of context that is necessary for it. Three is your output structure, style level. It doesn't really apply too much to image generation because you can just say that generate me an image. But let's say you want to make a study guide for yourself, you're going to tell it, I want a beginner level, medium level, advanced level, and it'll be able to reference that when it's actually generating the output. Four is more specific context about the topic, so this is really getting into the nitty gritty things. So like, I want a green Lamborghini, or this is in taking place in Dubai, or very specific to your prompt. So you have your general and then you have your specific. Then you're going to give it some examples. This doesn't really apply again to image, but in image generation, you can give it actual real life images. But however, this is really applicable to text generation, as you can give examples like, this is a good study guide that I learned a lot from, and it'll try to emulate that in its generation. Six is a negative prompt, and this is super duper important over here, where you basically need to tell the AI what not to do because it's horrible at, figuring that out. Number seven is resources and references. So telling it that you need to cite research articles, or this also includes attaching resources, like attaching a document or giving it some links to look at. And then surprisingly, the eighth thing is what you actually want to do. So you've given it all this information, but now you're finally going to tell it, make me an image of a Lamborghini at night. Because it already knows that it has to be green, it has to be in a city, what not to do. This should be, the max videography level that's possible. So next up is advanced prompting. This includes JSON and XML prompts, which I'll go into here. So this is an example prompt to generate a Lamborghini at night. And I basically generated this in XML format. As you can see, there are tags here, kind of like HTML. And this really spoon feeds the AI different things. So for example, it doesn't have to look for what texture to make it. It has that right here. So it's super explicit, and you need the structure to create images, apps, text, really anything. Because it's really just, think about it like you're putting your language into a language that the AI can understand better. So here's a few elements. So first is your main elements, like I talked about. So like, what's the focal point? What's the framing? Main subject, secondary elements over here. And then you have like your visual appearance. So you can do things like what colors, like I have primary colors here. You can even do the camera settings. This kind of goes into the background scene setting, but if you really want to get into like a really good, make this an artist, then you're going to need to tell it these different things. And we'll look into it in a moment, how you can do for apps or text, and things like that. So here we have like weather, mood, And also, one big thing is like processing and rendering. You need in 4K, has to be a ultra high quality level, and you can't really, all of the AI doesn't actually have a feature where it can go low or high quality. Just the fact that you're telling it that it needs to be 4K and it needs to be ultra detailed is going to make it as detailed as possible, even though it physically can't. You're still nudging it in that direction, if that makes sense. So here's a super important part, your negative prompt. So avoid artifacts, unwanted objects or distractions. Although I'm not even specifying it, it's still just gonna know that. And style exclusion, I blocked it off over here, but it says cartoonish or stylized art styles. And this is because the prompting tool that I use actually learns from you, which I'll walk you through actually right now to get into it. So let me show you that prompting tool that I use. It's actually a free Chrome extension that I developed because I found a lot of issues with other ones. So just look up Promptify. It's the first one that pops up. It's featured on Chrome, so it's fully safe. We're almost at 150 users. There's no login or anything, so I'll literally just do the setup with you right now. So I'll add the extension. It'll give you a little pop-up here. Skip, skip. Sorry, using Promptify. Doesn't matter at all. It's gonna work right immediately. And I have other things from before, so other prompts, which it actually can teach you how to prompt. Like I asked it, like what is a data structure, and it's gonna give me prompts like what I did, right or wrong. But that's just another feature that I added. But over here is where I want to talk about mainly is the customization part. So as you can see, I have it at XML right now, and I'm probably gonna put it up to medium. So let's say I want to make a study guide for calculus, okay? So I'm gonna go with actually a JSON prompt. Doesn't matter, XML, JSON, same thing really. I mean, they're obviously different, but in terms of the AI understanding it. I'll give it some instructions like make study guides that are super basic and to the point. Okay. I'll go ahead and save these settings. And I'm just on regular ChatGPT. I don't have Pro or anything like that. So I'll just say, make me study guide for calculus. Cannot spell. That's also another thing. It's a good spelling corrector, which one of our users said as well. So I'll say make me a study guide for calculus 1, focusing on limits and derivatives. So I'll just go ahead and highlight my text, let it do its thing, and then we'll analyze it in a few seconds when it's done. Okay. So here is the prompt that was generated. Super long, right? So here at the study guide, it gave it a title first, and that title really just sets the stage. It's kind of like that context and background, as well as this type. This purpose is really easy to understand that, it needs to create a comprehensive guide, concise study guide, like I mentioned before, with the goal of improving understanding, problem solving skills. Even though this is quite obvious if you say it's study guide, spoon feeding the AI as much as possible is ideal. And even giving a target audience is another really good piece of context. And kind of the role is defined here with like a study guide creator. So the output format, again, it's gonna say something like when your prompts when you make them, you can say make it a PDF or make it a huge digital document with 15 pages. It's obviously not gonna do that because it can't, but it will, however, go to its limits. Essentially, you're pushing it to its limits. This says provide examples, and because this, like I mentioned before, this AI tool uses context from the past, I've always said to avoid excess mathematical jargon in my old prompts, so now it's gonna always kind of keep that if I ask something about school or math, etc. Use simple and creative language, quality standards, that's pretty basic. Creative direction, this is interesting to be clear and concise. See how it's kind of repetitive in that you're telling it, you need price, you need to be concise, you need to be concise. That's really what it needs. And this is huge too. Using references, this avoids hallucination. So what I've seen a lot of people say is that tell it to always say that you're wrong, like tell the AI to say that you're wrong to avoid from hallucinating, but in fact it's actually going to hallucinate and try to prove you wrong no matter what. So you want to actually, instead of that, just give it references and specific details on what to reference. So again, another purpose here, quality level, file format, delivery specifications, and then a final critical instructions that really recaps it all. So I will put this into the AI, let it do its thing for a bit. Um, and yeah, I'll see. So it's gonna create a app right now. Um, just interesting. So it created a study guide. Interesting. Yeah, so this is what prompting can do for you. Instead of giving it just an output like that, it actually generated a whole PDF using that code. And look at that. Crazy study guide, super concise to the point, like I mentioned. Wow, this is great. Perfect study guide. So there's that. That's really what can show you what AI can do instead of just giving you an output like a limit and a derivative. It's going to literally generate you an entire study guide. And I said it was supposed to be concise. That's why it's just like bullet points. Otherwise, it would have actually just given me a full like PhD level explanation because I had it look at those references, if that makes sense. So going back to this, we hit all of these, the general structure of a prompt and, what it needs and how that can really elevate. Not even just images like I showed before, like here, like this transformation is crazy enough, but that study guide I created was wild. It generated a whole PDF. I taught you advanced prompting, so when your next prompt, you can apply these general structures to advanced prompting in terms of telling it in brackets context, adding the context. And then an example analysis, we looked at that and saw how as detailed as possible it can get. And I showed you this tool, Promptify, that will get you those insane prompts just effortlessly. Um, but yeah, so use these techniques in your next prompt. It's definitely going to scale whatever you're doing, image generation, text, videos, etc. I dropped a link in the bio, in the description for Promptify. It's free. As you saw, no login, just a simple download button. And let me know in the comments section how the prompts are and what your outputs are and your favorite thing about it. In the next video, I'm going to talk about why different AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok by themselves absolutely suck, and why you need to actually use wrappers, even though everyone hates on ChatGPT and AI wrappers, why they're just so much better. So I'll see you guys in the next one.